I, a male teen, have a sister who is a younger teen. My sister was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia when she was 6 and had ongoing medical needs for 5 years. She's been healthy for the last 3 years and returned to normal. My parents put me on the back burner significantly, and they weren't there for me. I was bounced around to different family members, or I was left alone. My birthday was forgotten a few years, and Christmas was always about her. I was asked to put effort into ensuring she had all the gifts and joys she could get, because it could be her last. I was miserable, and I know none of us were happy, but I really felt like I was basically there as a prop to try and cheer her up sometimes. She would ask for stuff, and they would move heaven and earth to get it, and sometimes it was stuff I had. Before she got sick, my parents had bought me this beanbag chair for my room that was probably more expensive now that I think about it, and they gave it to her. When I brought home a treat from school, they would ask or tell me to give it to my sister to cheer her up, and sometimes she would ask for it. When I didn't bring something home for a while, they would ask me if I ate it, like it was a crime I committed. We went to see Santa for a few years after she was sick, and I got a better cheap toy that we swapped because I couldn't have something a little nicer than her. Last Christmas, I got clothes while she got a new phone and switch skin. I had a birthday in June and saved to buy a gaming laptop. It was a lot of saving my wages and buying nothing, but I wanted it. My 2 best friends decided to forego buying me something and gave me money to get it, and they came with me to pick it up. Last week, my parents and sister were in the living room when I got home from school, and my parents told me my sister wanted to play games with her friends, computer games, and that they thought since I had a gaming laptop, I could just give it to her since it would make more sense than going out and buying a new one. When I didn't answer right away, they said, "Oh, well, of course, you could always share it between you," and I lost it. I started yelling and cursing. I told them, of course she should have it, and why the heck not? I went into my room, took my clothes, and said she should have all that too. I said, why not take my bed and give it to her as well? Then I pointed out she had a new bed and my bed was 12 years old. I told them to take everything I own since she deserves it all, and I don't deserve crap because I never got sick as a kid. My sister didn't say a word and my parents were shocked, but then they were pretty angry with me and asked me why the heck I was behaving like that. Things have been tense since, though I still have my laptop. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your parents should have done a better job ensuring your needs weren't completely on the back burner. It couldn't have been easy with your sister being so sick, but meeting your needs was and is also important. I'm sorry it went down the way it did. You're absolutely right standing your ground. Look up glass children. This is unfortunately a pretty common family dynamic, and hide the laptop now. Sounds like that outburst was long overdue. OP, please sit down with them and spell it clearly to them. This is your laptop only. You worked for it, saved for it, and foregone gifts from friends to afford it. And no, it isn't, nor will it be shared. If your parents want a shared laptop, they should buy one you can both use. Period. And that, as of now, they need to change their attitude ASAP. Your sister is healthy, and they were huge idiots and negligent to you for enough years. They forgot they had 2 children and are embarrassed you called them out on their neglect. Those people don't feel embarrassment, just frustration the older kid doesn't get it. As a shadow sibling of a miracle sibling, I understand this experience. You built up key skills like resilience and independence due to their neglect. Your sister has learned to take advantage of you based on the behavior modeled after your parents. As soon as you move out, it gets better. As soon as they realize you never call, it gets better. As soon as you create your own family, it gets better. You have learned to expect nothing. Create some physical and emotional distance for self-preservation and keep moving forward. I don't drive and live in my forever house with my dogs. My kids are grown up and I'm a widow. I converted my garage into a legal guest house with everything a person needs when the kids visit. Independent washroom, kitchen, everything. My parents have recently asked me if they can move in with me. I agreed and talked to my kids to let them know that if they came for a visit, the garage was taken, so they would have to stay in the house. My parents showed up on the appointed day, and the kids showed up with their families to help get them moved in, and they had already arranged a hotel for one family so we wouldn't be crowded. My parents were confused about why we were moving their stuff into the garage. I told them that was where they were staying. They said they thought they could move into my house since I had 5 bedrooms. I explained that I have 2 bedrooms since one room is my office where I see clients, one is my private office, and one is my hobby room. The spare bedroom is mostly for my mutts. They said they wanted to live in the house, not in the garage like Fonzie. I said it was a take it or leave it situation. If they didn't like the garage, they could move into a nursing home or something. They're upset that they're living rent-free in a private guest house that is entirely up to code. Not the idiot. Wow, your parents are spoiled. A rent-free, up-to-code apartment sounds pretty sweet. They can make other arrangements if it isn't good enough for them. Tell them, it's my roof and you'll do as I say. But if you let them into your main house, it will become their house, and you won't be able to get away from them. My friend recently turned her shed into a beautiful guest house with kitchen appliances and a private bathroom. Her parents are currently living there and they don't have a problem with it. They like the privacy and they like being close to their child. If your parents don't like living rent-free in your guest house, they can look for a retirement community to move into that may suit them better. They wanted to be in the main house for you to be their cook, maid and carer. In the guest house, they have to fend for themselves. They probably want OP to move into the guest house too. OP, if you aren't in the habit of locking your exterior doors when you want privacy for yourself, your client or whatever, I suggest you start, and I tell your folks to text you first if they want to come over to your house. No response means you're busy, and they stay out. My wife, 23, and I, 25 male, are having our first child together. She's currently 9 months pregnant and could give birth any time in the next couple of weeks. The only major fight we had throughout our pregnancy happened a couple of days ago, and it was about what we would name our kid. It all started when we found out the gender of the baby. We didn't do a gender reveal and decided to find out the gender at one of her checkups because we didn't want to spend time making 2 lists of names and then have to get rid of one after. So after we found out we were having a boy, we sat down together and made a list. Almost all the names she suggested were normal until the one that caused me to write this post. She suggested we name our son Moon, M-U-N-E. She told me the name was from a movie she watched when she was younger and that it always stuck with her. I told her the name was a little out there and he would get made fun of for it. She claimed he wouldn't, and we started going back and forth trying to decide whether to add the name to the list or not. Eventually, she agreed to keep the name off the list. We picked some that we liked, and I thought that was that. Later in her pregnancy, her mom threw a baby shower as it was her first grandchild and my wife's pregnancy was almost over, and we hadn't celebrated once. It was fine for the most part, until we started to open the gifts. Most were normal baby things like diapers and bottles, until we got to her mom's gift. My wife opened the gift bag and pulled out a blue handmade blanket. It seemed normal enough at first until my wife unfolded it, and lo and behold, there was the name Moon written on the blanket. I was angry, but I didn't want to cause a scene when I saw it, so I stayed quiet. After that reveal, family members came up to me and asked me about the name and why I hadn't told them. I didn't know what to say to them as I didn't have a clue about this either, and just had to embarrassingly tell my family that, which made me angry even more. Once the event ended and my wife and I went home, I started questioning her about the name. She got defensive and told me that it was a good name and that I was overreacting. I brought up the earlier points and told her that it was a stupid name for a kid, and if she wanted to name something Moon so badly, she could use the name for a dog. She got upset and called her mom to get her. After she left, she called me and told me she wouldn't return for a while. Everyone I've talked to about this has said I'm not the idiot, but now that my wife has been gone and I've been thinking about it, I feel like I could have handled the situation better. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I think that naming your children after fictional characters is not a good idea. I know your wife liked that French animated movie, but she should consider that naming a baby is not the same as naming a pet. I hope the kid doesn't have Beavis and Butthead as classmates. I completely agree with this. That reminds me of Game of Thrones when people got angry that they named their child Daenerys before the books or TV show was finished, and they decided she would become a mad queen and ended up with a not-so-happy ending. That being said, has your wife done any research on this name? Mune means breasts in Japanese. Does she even like your kid? OP should send a text to Grandma with that little tidbit of information. Use Grandma to his advantage like his wife did. There is no way Grandma wants her grandson named Breasts. This is one of those 2 yeses, 1 no situations. You didn't have 2 yeses, but your wife proceeded as though you did, even going behind your back to do so. Brilliant idea. OP, text the name translations to Grandma and your wife. She opened the argument to the family. Let the weight of public opinion fall upon her Moon. Reverser. Oh, and post it on social media. I, 24 male, have always been the black sheep of my family. I'm more quiet and reserved than my siblings and wasn't as interested in sports as them. My youngest brother, 21 male Sam, is a big athlete, and my parents' favoritism is blatant. He can do whatever he wants, blame me, and my parents just believe him and punish me. For example, he took our dad's truck for a joyride and hit something, leaving a massive dent in the door. He blamed me, and I was grounded, and my graduation party was cancelled. While I was at college, the truth came out and Sam got no punishment. Or when he ruined my mom's fabric scissors. I was out with a friend when it happened, but I still got grounded because Sam said that I ruined them. I could go on, but it always boils down to Sam messing something up, blaming me, and I get punished. After graduating, I moved to the other side of the country for art school and I never visited home. I only kept in contact with my other brother, Will, 23, and we have a good relationship. Recently, I got a new job that moved me close to home and I told Will about it. My mom then contacted me and said we should all get together to celebrate. I was hesitant, but my mom said we go to my favourite restaurant and they'd pay. Plus, it would be the first time seeing Will in person in 2 years. So, I accepted. Sam still lives with our parents and it was immediately apparent he hadn't changed much in the past 6 years. He's coasting off his track scholarship and doesn't seem to care much about anything. Anyways, on the dinner day, Sam starts complaining about the restaurant choice and saying he'd rather not go. After some back and forth between our parents and him, they asked if we could go somewhere else. I told them no. They can go somewhere else to coddle their golden boy, but I came here for that restaurant and I was going to enjoy the food I wanted. Sam called me pathetic and childish for not compromising. I saw red after that. I told him he was the pathetic one. He's a lazy idiot who can't take an ounce of responsibility and couldn't last a week without our parents. My mom told me off, saying I was being nasty about what was supposed to be a happy day, and I told her I hadn't felt happiness around the three of them since I was a kid. My dad called me a brat and demanded I apologise. I told him to screw off and that he doesn't have a shred of integrity after cancelling my graduation party and never apologising after he found out it was Sam. My mom tried to defend him, but Sam said I was just being an idiot because they weren't impressed enough I was a starving artist. I then told them all to screw off and left. I called Will and stayed with him until my flight on Wednesday. He told me I was right and justified, but it was harsh of me to say all that. He isn't asking me to apologise, but he did tell me our mom hasn't left her room since it happened. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Good for you for finally standing up to them. Maybe your mom is currently having an epiphany about how crappy they've been towards you. Nice you've got Will in your corner. A bit of reality never hurt anyone. They may need it to start seeing how the golden child really is. I really feel like they don't respect you at all compared to Sam. It's hard not to go off the handle for the summation of decades of unfair treatment. It wasn't nice and it might not have been right, but what did they honestly expect? Maybe your mum is currently having an epiphany. Mom is not having an epiphany. Mom is wallowing in self-pity and formulating a plan to be the victim in this. OP, go no contact with everyone but Will. Your family's favoritism was just pure evil. I would suggest some counselling to ease your pain. Best wishes for your future. Be the best you can be. Screw your brother and your enabling parents. They're not worth losing sleep over. This happened 2 months ago. So I, 21 female, was supposed to go to a zoo with my dad and sister, 23. The UV index was supposed to be pretty high that day, so I warned my sister to bring sunscreen. The day came, she wore a tank top and hadn't applied or brought sunscreen. I offered to let her apply my body sunscreen before we left, but she refused and said that it wasn't necessary. I offered to let her bring it in her bag, but she didn't want to carry it around. I wore long sleeves, so I only brought my face sunscreen to the zoo. Halfway through the day, she started getting burned and wanted sunscreen. I told her, sorry, no, this sunscreen is from Korea and is meant for the face, so it's more expensive than body sunscreen. I offered her my flannel. I brought it for the evening, but it was still quite hot then, and she refused. So she ended up getting burned. She thinks it's my fault because I had sunscreen and refused to share. I think it's her fault because I warned her before she left, offered to let her use my sunscreen at home, and offered her a way to cover her back and arms. This is not the first time she forgot something and expected me to fix it either. Am I the idiot? Sunscreen is only important if you don't want to get burned. Your sister opted not to have sunscreen. They sell sunscreen at the zoo, though perhaps a little more expensive, and I bet it's not as expensive as the imported facial cream you still brought. After refusing to use sunscreen at first, refusing to put it in her bag just in case, choosing not to wear sun-appropriate clothes, and refusing to take your long-sleeve shirt, her solution is the one that cost you the most in price and inconvenience and lets her have no responsibility. Nope. She had options, was given options repeatedly, and even refused to buy some on her own. She's the idiot. At the end of the day, this is a grown woman blaming others for the consequences of her own actions. This will probably be unpopular, but everyone's the idiot here. Yes, your sister is a moron, but skin cancer is no joke, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that that day at the zoo could have been the trigger for even one of her skin cells mutating and going cancerous in the future. I get where you're coming from with the product being expensive. I also use a number of South Korean products, but last month when my partner forgot to put on SPF, I didn't hesitate to whip mine out and get him protected because I care more about his physical well-being than a consumable product.